Hello everybody, I'm live again, woohoo! So yesterday we talked about my standings predictions for the West. So obviously today we're going to do the East. So the East, in my opinion, is much easier to do than the West. I feel fairly confident that the 8 teams that I picked to make the top 8 in the East are going to actually, be in the top 8. Now there could be, a team that comes out of nowhere and surprises us. But I feel confident that most of the teams, at least, that I put in are going to, be in the playoff hunt rather than the West, where yesterday, if you were here, you saw that I really wasn't confident in most, if not all, my picks because the West is just so loaded. It's hard to, excuse me, it's hard to figure out where each team's going to go. But let's go through the East now and discuss where I think each team is going to end up. So, number 1 in the East, I have the New York Knicks. Now, before they made the big trade for Cat, I thought the Knicks were going to be the number 1 seed. I've said it for a couple months now. I really liked the roster, that they had. I thought the continuity and the chemistry and everything was just going to go really well for them. And so I thought they would be the number 1 seed because I thought they would get off to a really hot start. And even if they had a rough patch along the way, I thought they were still going to be the number 1 seed because they were going to build a sizable lead, especially with Porzingis being out for the Celtics until January, most likely. Maybe longer, but most likely January. So with that being said, they trade for Cat. And so now there are some question marks, around the roster because they are lacking a little bit of depth. Something that they had a ton of last year, all of a sudden they don't have as much, depth on the bench. You still got, Miles McBride, you still got Precious Achiuwa. They should be able to make it work, but Mitchell Robinson is also going to be out for a while. So they are lacking a bit of depth. However, I expect them to be creative and figure out a way to, get around the cap situation and be able to add a couple more players on the bench to give them some of the depth that they lost. I'm kind of also basing this on them being able to do that, which I think they will. I know that the Knicks, were made fun of for a while, but they've been very smart in the last few years, and they've figured out how to make roster moves properly. So I expect them to make a couple moves and get a couple, quality players to help them with their depth off the bench. And so I'm still going to have them as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I'm still going with that. And part of the reason is what I said earlier, is that number 2, I have the Celtics. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will have the Celtics number 1, and that's not wrong to pick. I could see the Celtics being number 1 as well. I'm not saying that they won't be or they can't be, but because Porzingis is going to be out until January at the minimum, and they don't have a ton of depth either. They don't have the deepest bench at all. And Al Horford, I love Al Horford, but Al Horford at this stage in his career needs to be playing limited minutes. So now your center rotation, kind of similar to the Knicks before the Cat trade, is at, kind of a bare minimum. Did they re-sign Xavier Tillman? I can't remember if they did. If they did, obviously that's a good, a good re-pickup, I guess, because I do like Xavier Tillman. I thought he was good on the Grizzlies. So that will definitely help with the center rotation. But in general, they're going to be a little bit thin at the center position because Porzingis is going to be out for quite some time. And so that combined with the fact that I think the Celtics, I don't want to say they're going to take it easy, but coming off a championship and all that stuff, I don't know if they're going to get off to the hottest start. You know what I mean? So I just feel like they're going to be fine, but I feel like they're going to end up as the number 2 seed. I feel like when Porzingis comes back, it'll be easier, of course. And so I have the Celtics being the number 2 seed, which I also feel, decently confident in. Because like I said yesterday, if you watch this page, you know that I was not feeling confident in any of my picks because the West is just too hard. Someone said Kings are about to surprise people who haven't really watched their games last season. I actually did say in yesterday's live stream, I said the Kings were going to have a bounce back season. I felt like they could finish 4th in the West because adding DeMar DeRozan is definitely a big help and he solved some of their issues. And so I feel like the Kings will have a bounce back season. But back to the East. So I have the Knicks 1, the Celtics 2. Number 3 on the list is the 76ers. Now, I think the top 3 seems pretty obvious to most people. Like I said, the East is easier than the West. I think the Sixers, I don't know if this is really a hot take or not. I think the Sixers are going to have the best record in the East in the second half of the season. So whenever, I guess maybe post All-Star break or starting January or whatever, I think the Sixers are going to start rolling. I think they're going to figure out their chemistry between Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. I don't know if you saw, but Joel Embiid supposedly lost, 25, 30 pounds, and he wants to lose some more so he could be healthy. And obviously, the less he weighs, the less pressure on his... Oh, Sal, I see a rose. Thank you, Sal, for a rose. I appreciate that. Popped up on my screen. I appreciate the gift. Oh, another gift. Thank you, Sal. I see, 15, 17, 18. It's counting. 19 hearts. Thank you, Sal. Appreciate that. Another heart. Thank you, Sal. Wow, Sal. Very generous of you. Appreciate it. So I think the 76ers are going to have the best record in the East for the second half of the season because I think they're going to figure out the chemistry and all that stuff. And so I think they're going to start rolling at that time. But I think for the first half, because they are learning each other and it's basically a brand new team. If you think about it, even though Maxey was there before, if you went into if you looked at the offseason, you saw that their roster had nobody on the books except for Joel Embiid. I'm not even exaggerating. They literally only had Joel Embiid signed. So I know Maxey was there and they re-signed him, so he's not a new player. But the entire roster was not even signed. So because of all that, I think the Sixers are not going to struggle necessarily to start. But I think they're going to, potentially lose some games down the stretch in the beginning of the season. Just because they're figuring out how to play with each other. Not in a bad way, just a, learning chemistry thing. But I think it's fair to say that the Sixers, when healthy, can be a very scary team. I know there's mixed emotions about them. But I think they're going to be very good, and I have them finishing as the 3rd seed. So now on to the 4th seed. Here's where is my surprise team, I guess. I got the Orlando Magic. Shout out Orlando Magic fans. I know you guys want to hear this. But every year I, think of or go with my gut on which team I think is going to be the surprise up-and-coming team, I guess. Oh, I see a Tiny Diny, it's called. A little dinosaur. Thank you, Carson. Appreciate it. So I think that every year I pick, a team or two. A couple years ago, I had the Pelicans. I'm not saying I was the only person, picking the Pelicans. But there wasn't many people thinking the Pelicans could be a top 2 seed in the West at that time. And I was like, no, when they're healthy, it's going to be like that. And when they were healthy for the first half of the season, if you remember, they were the number 1, number 2 seed. And then Zion got hurt, and then that was it. And then the same thing on the opposite side, a couple of years ago, or last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, I was saying the same thing about the Cavs. I was like, the Cavs, that team is going to be really good. They're going to be a top 3 seed or whatever I said. And I don't remember where they finished. that year. I think they finished 4th. I think this was 2 years ago. So those were my quote unquote surprise teams. Even though, again, I'm not saying I was the only person to expect that, but it was the 2 teams that were coming out of nowhere. Like they weren't there before. So this year, my team is the Orlando Magic. I think Paolo put in the work this offseason. I love the pickup of KCP. I think that team is going to be low-key scary or high-key scary, however you want to put it. I really think that team's going to be nice. I think they're still going to have to, work through some of the issues that they had. They're still going to need more shooting, of course. KCP helps that, but they're going to need more. And that team is still really young, so they're going to, still be developing. But I think the Orlando Magic are going to be the number 4 seed. I think they're going to have a nice breakout season, I guess, if you want to say. Like, look out for the Orlando Magic. I think they're doing good things over there. They're building nicely, and they have a really good coach. So watch out for them. Someone said, I hope you have my Knicks as the number 1 seed. Well, if you go back and watch this, I actually did say I have the Knicks as the number 1 seed, so your wish is granted. Yes, I have the Knicks as the number 1 seed. That's my opinion. So back to the Orlando Magic. Watch out for them. Now we're on the number 5 seed. And here's where I had a little bit of question. So I put the Bucks as the 5 seed. But I also feel like the Cavs can be the 5 seed. Like, I think the Bucks are going to... I know, they have Giannis and they have Dame. How are they the 5 seed, right? But I feel like they are, going down, like, in the standings because of, they're getting older as a team. They are, there's a lot of chemistry things to work on. And so I feel like they are going to be down in the standings a little bit. So with that being said, I think the Bucks are going to be the 5th seed. And I know that may not be a popular opinion. However, they could even be a little lower. Like, they might even be like the 7th seed. Sorry to people who are Bucks fans. But the reason is, like, we don't even know if Dame... It's really hard to say because I don't want to say Dame won't be healthy, but we don't know how healthy Dame is going to be, due to his injury history recently. And then Giannis has recently, gotten kind of injured as well. So with all that being said, I'm not sure what their team is going to look like. And like I said, they're an older team. Chris Middleton is not healthy yet. I believe I saw something that popped up the other day that he wasn't cleared yet. Oh, thank you, Carson. 10 heart puffs. Thank you, Carson. I appreciate that. Someone said Middleton is the X factor for them. He has to have a great season. Well, right now he's not even healthy. So that's the issue. So that's a big loss for them at the moment. So that's why even putting them as the 5th seed, I'm not even sure. So like I might have the Cavs as the number 5 seed, to be honest. Right now I have the Cavs, like I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I put the Cavs at 7 only because I put the Pacers at 6. But maybe I'll switch it and have the Cavs at 5 and Bucks at 7. I don't know. Like, doesn't that seem kind of crazy having the Bucks at 7 with Dame and Giannis? But I don't know. So we'll skip ahead to the 6th seed, and that is the Pacers. I think the Pacers, unfortunately, got stuck in the East when the teams above them got better. Now, not necessarily the Bucks. So, like, that's, that's debatable. But like I said, I could put the Cavs there. So we'll talk about that a little later. But I think the Pacers should be better as a team, right? More team chemistry, Pascal Siakam, Halliburton. Everybody should be better. And if you watch this page, I'm a fan of Ben Mathurin. Hopefully he's healthy and has a nice big season. But in my opinion, they got stuck. They got stuck getting good at a time where the other teams actually got good the same year. Like I think, I don't know. I know saying the Knicks got better is like hard to say with the trade because we don't know how it's going to happen, you know, how it's going to play out yet. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the trade for Cat. But regardless, I still think the Knicks are better than the Pacers. The Celtics are better. The Sixers are better because of the moves they made. And then I just feel like the Orlando Magic are going to have a better record season. It doesn't mean that the Orlando Magic are going to beat the Pacers in the playoffs necessarily if they played each other. But I feel like record-wise, the Orlando Magic are going to be better. So I feel like the Pacers should be better also, but they got stuck in a time where everybody else above them got better too. In a record sense. So the Pacers, they didn't do anything wrong. I think they did everything that they were supposed to. I think they did everything right. I just think they're going to, unfortunately, get stuck as the 6th seed, which puts them as a playoff, you know, spot. So that's fine too. Like they're going to have a playoff spot. So at the end of the day, as long as you make the playoffs, I guess it doesn't matter. But then we move on to 7, which is where I said, is it Cavs or is it Bucks? Should we put the Cavs at 5 over the Bucks, or should we put the Bucks at 7? Like, this is my dilemma. It feels wrong to have the Cavs at 7, but it also feels wrong to have the Bucks at 7. That's the issue. So I can't, those are the two I can't decide where they should go. But regardless, like the Cavs, you still got literally the entire team is still there. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Karis LeVert. I believe he just got re-signed, right? He was a free agent this offseason. Correct me if I'm wrong. So he got re-signed. I'm really happy that they re-signed him because Karis LeVert is a very, very good player. I feel like people don't realize how much value he brings not only to this team, but every team that he has been on. Like his role is a little bit limited on this team compared to what it was, you know, on the Nets. And so you don't see it as much, but like every time that Donovan Mitchell is out or Darius Garland is out or something like that, Karis LeVert goes crazy. Like if you know, you know. All of a sudden he's dropping 20, 25, all those games. So Karis LeVert is a very, very good player and he's very underrated. And so he's definitely an X factor for the Cavs. And so they still have Evan Mobley and they still have Jared Allen. So the team itself is still good. Like they still have all these good players. So maybe I should put them 5. Maybe I should just, you know, stick with my gut, put them 5 and have the Bucks at 7. Man, the Bucks at 7 sounds kind of crazy. And then we have the number 8 seed, which is the Miami Heat. And Miami Heat seem to be the 8th seed every year now, and I can't see any other team overtaking them and becoming the 8th seed, so I feel like it's the Miami Heat's, I feel like it's their 8th seed to lose, basically, that's what I mean. I think, unfortunately, they're a little bit stuck right now as well. We don't know what's going to happen with Jimmy Butler, you know, his contract, and what kind of roster moves they're going to eventually make. Eric Spoelstra, best coach in the NBA, so, you know, he'll figure it out and make sure they make the playoffs. But I think the Miami Heat are the 8th seed. Like I said, like I don't see it any other way. I see someone says, I kind of want to see a team like the Hornets sneak in. I don't think the Hornets are going to sneak in. No offense to the Hornets. I don't think they have enough put together yet. Because I'm not sure, like, is LaMelo Ball going to be healthy to start the season? Has that been confirmed yet? I'm not even sure. Like, maybe he is. I haven't seen it. But there's always health concerns with LaMelo. And then Mark Williams, actually, I saw yesterday, he got a sprained foot or something like that. Like, something happened literally yesterday with Mark Williams. And it's like a sprained foot or a strained foot or something like that. So he's going to be out for a little while, and obviously they really want to develop him as a center, you know, on their roster. So whoever commented that, so sorry. I don't think the Hornets are going to sneak in, but, you know, they could still do some good things this season and improve. I'm not sure. The playoffs are in sights right now, but you gotta start somewhere, and they have some young talent, so there is definitely some bright futures ahead with the Hornets. So those are my predictions for the Eastern Conference. Thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!